Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unity Center of West Glen, Oregon. My name is Joanne Carruthers, and I'm your service assistant today. We bless and welcome each one of you today and always. In Unity, we believe each of us dwells in spirit, and each of us is here today by divine appointment. The Unity Center is a ministry where people of all ages, backgrounds, and beliefs celebrate the one common spiritual thread that lives in every heart. If you're new to Unity or to Unity Center of West Glen, we invite you to visit our website, www.worldhealing.org. Our guest speaker today is Reverend Julie Applegate, and she will open our celebration with prayer.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. And we've been having a joyful morning together as a community. And so let us come together this morning as I speak my word in prayer. I speak in the personal tense as we are all one on some level. Within and beyond our uniqueness, we are all one in spirit. And I know that there is one power and presence, the invisible essence that birthed all life and holds together this entire universe. And it is ever present in each one of us. What a magnificent realization that is, that the God, the divine, the essence that created all, created us and holds and sustains us. And this infinite contains all, and that all is holy and of great purpose. And I know that I am one with the infinite holy presence, as is everyone. In other words, all the qualities of this infinite presence, this life, that which we call God, or many names, resides in me and each one of us. And today, I affirm my wholeness, denying nothing of spirit, as all is of great worth. I embrace the fullness of my being, and as I do, I know that the power for good, I recognize that I embrace it, the power for good in my life and all of our lives. The power of unity, harmony, love, all that is of spirit. And with knowingness and ever expanding and deep gratitude, I say that it is so, and so it is. Amen.
And our reading this morning, this Advent season, is about love. It's from the daily word for today. Love surrounds me and fills my heart. Love fills my senses throughout this Advent season. I find it in the taste and aroma of my favorite holiday recipes, lovingly made. I hear it in my favorite Christmas music, sung with joy. I feel love in a child's enthusiastic hug and in a friend's caring touch. I see love and joy in the festive decorations adorning houses and neighborhoods. The love of friends, family, and neighbors at Christmas time surrounds me in so many ways. Throughout the year, love remains the most beautiful evidence of the presence of God in and through all things. Love is the harmonizing power that infuses the world and everyone in it. Inspired by divine love, I perceive the divine in every person and all situations. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love. from 1 Corinthians 13:13.
Light the candle, illuminate your heart. Don't be afraid of the dark. Along with winter comes the soundless snowfall, resting heavy upon our soul. Ring out the old, bring in the new. Bless and release what you have to with love, with hope, with love. There above us, a brilliant evening sky. Let spirit fly with the constellation. Lift up our voices in prayerful harmony. Join together in the jubilation. Bring out the old, bring in the new. Bless and release what you have to with love, with hope, with love, with love, love. Oh, it's love, it's love. Bring out the old, bring in the new. Bless and release what you have to with love, with hope, with love. Light the candle, illuminate your
Good morning again. The second Sunday of December. And as we move towards Christmas, and many of us who've been practicing social distancing and staying home just as much as we can to be respectful of everything that's going on in our world today, is I am so grateful for these internet ability to come together in community in our spiritual communities. I have always loved church ever since I was a little girl, and I love going to church, and I really miss seeing everyone. But wow, am I so grateful about the magic and I call it magic, the magic of the internet, because I simply don't understand how it works. But I am really glad that we have it, and to get together. And if if you don't join us after service and have not joined us after service, and join this service on Sunday and stay and just hang out with everybody. It really helps. So this Sunday we're speaking about the shadow. And so why are we exploring the shadow this time of year? This season where we always celebrate light, we have candle lighting. It's all about light. But you guys, we light our candles in the dark. Remember that. And in truth, and so there's a reason for that. I think there's a lot of deep reasons for that. And I'm just going to go into one thing today, that we can't experience the light fully unless we also embrace the darkness. And I know that's a phrase, and we'll listen and it'll go maybe unnoticed, but really think about that. we really cannot experience the light fully unless we are able to embrace the darkness. And sometimes as New Thought people, and I know this is true for me, we're trained to only see the positive. And that's a good thing. That helps us navigate life in such a wonderful, wonderful way. And we are so lucky to have found this teaching. But if we only embrace the positive, this doesn't allow for the wholeness that we affirm. And we affirm that we are whole and perfect. We may not be experiencing that divine perfection in this moment, in our health, in our relationships, and something might be going on in our life that we aren't experiencing, but we all know that on a deep, deep level, we are whole because we are one with the wholeness, the perfection, the infinite of this universe. So in not looking at the wholeness of our beingness, and that's the shadow parts of us, it really limits us. So today I want to explore and encourage us to embrace our shadow so that we can fully experience the light of our divine being and fully experience our wholeness and all that really means in our life. So the part of us that we don't look at, we keep in the dark, the psychologists have called the shadow. And the shadow contains those parts of us that we don't like, those parts of us that we disown, those parts of us that might not make us feel socially acceptable, the greed, the anger, the lust, the resentment, all of that stuff that we just soon not show up in our life. And we certainly don't want the world to know that we have all those qualities. So for many of us, most of us, we're taught to not experience those, to disown them. But all of those qualities, it just depends on how you look at them. Let's take anger and look at anger. Anger is not a bad thing. It's like everything else that we might say that we don't want in our character, in our life, but it serves us. It serves us in so many ways. It's just like everything. It's part of the wholeness of who we are. It is who we are, part of us. And it just depends on how we use that. And as we go more deeply into our spiritual practices, what happens is all of those qualities within us begin to be used for us and for good. But, before we really deeply understand our wholeness and our spiritual practice, we put on our mask. And if we are really, really good at this mask, we come to believe that none of those things really exist in us. In somebody else, oh, sure, but not in us. And often we push them so far back that they become virtually unconscious in our subconscious, our unconscious, however you want to language that. But they're there, guys. They're always there. And it's like children, any of us who've had children and we're doing something and we're ignoring them and they're pulling on our skirts. And the more we ignore them, the louder they get to get our attention, or, get to be teenagers, they act out. And that's really what that shadow side does of us. When we ignore it, when we push it so far away that we don't like that part of ourselves, it is like those children. It just begins to express itself more and more. And I have heard some of us say, sometimes, where did that come from? And, we may have said something to someone or had an angry moment that, wow, that's not me. Where did that come from? How did that happen? And that's the shadow part of us that is gonna show up. Or if you've ever worked really hard and then sabotaged your good, it's probably the shadow showing its face. So last week, Christine spoke a beautiful message about faith. And what I have learned over the years of my spiritual work, my spiritual practice, counseling, that unless we learn to embrace the wholeness of ourselves when difficulties happen, and they will, our faith is can be shaken. It is definitely tested. And if we don't have that deep embracing of all of life, the beautiful, the parts that we don't like, then it can be completely broken and shattered. And because everything within us is important, everything is within us, and it holds a packet of energy. That's how I define it. Every quality within us holds a packet of energy. And you guys, it takes a lot of energy to hold down those shadow parts of us, those self-hidden parts. And it reminds me of a story that I once heard about a man who lost his beloved dog. So he put an ad up and posters up everywhere in hopes of finding this beloved pet. And the sign read this: lost dog, blind in one eye, missing tail, 3 legs, recently castrated, answers to the name of Lucky. So we can live in that story. Okay. That story reminds me of the illusion of who we are when we only recognize certain parts of ourselves. Dr. Brujoy calls the shadow the New Year's resolution self. And when I read that, I just loved that. So that's that annual attempt, he says, to discard or overcome those parts of ourselves that we just find don't fit the image we want. And I am amazed at people who can actually keep their New Year's resolutions. I probably make it to the 5th of January, but God bless you guys that are better than I am. Anyway, I love that, the New Year's resolution self. So how does this shadow form? It's our society, our parents, our siblings. It seems like everything conspires to encourage us to deny parts of ourselves and conform to some socially accepted pattern. And I'm not saying that all of this is bad. I mean, navigate the world. But I watch modern teachers because one of my daughters is a teacher and she teaches often the lower grades, and her favorite groups to teach are kids that come from problem situations. And I've watched the magic. It's partly who she is and partly the training nowadays, the magic of how to teach those children to be kind, to be considerate, to work within the context of a social community, yet not put them down, not criticize them, not deny them, and this is speaking from someone who spent more than one classroom period with gum in my nose. Some of us never learned, shame didn't take, but that, the way that we're often taught as young people, it makes us think that parts of ourselves that are just so natural are not acceptable, but they are. It's just what we do with them. So this is my whole point today. I just want us to embrace our wholeness. And I was talking to one of my very closest friends last week, a minister friend of mine, and she was raised Catholic. She went to Catholic school, and she was a very good girl. I don't think she ever had gum on her nose, but she was telling me she remembered that how devastated she was as a child because she was taught that her behavior could hurt God. God could really be hurt by how she behaved and how terrible that made her feel as a child. I mean, that kind of teaching just gives me absolute chills. And she still, she's a New Thought minister. She doesn't believe that. But she said sometimes there's a part of her, that little girl, that feels that pain of that little girl. And then this idea rises up within her that what she could do could be damaging to the infinite. These things happen to us, and maybe something different. But the other night, I couldn't sleep very well. And so I thought, I don't know if any of you guys do this, but I thought I'm going to listen to a book and it'll put me to sleep. I got to get something interesting enough to make me focus, but boring enough that I'll fall asleep. So I went to the library and I pulled up this book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Wow, that was not a good choice. But anyway, it's because it starts out talking about his whole family, except one sister and himself, were exterminated by the Nazis, and the nakedness of the people stripped of everything. And it was disturbing. Now, obviously, I didn't fall asleep because I got this big pain in my stomach and this tremendous sadness. Is how can something like the Holocaust happen? Granted, their leaders were sociopaths, but what about those of us who conform to things and follow? And I just could not wrap my mind around it. Obviously, I couldn't sleep, but it's that individual shadow we have. This, because there's not only an individual shadow, there's this collective consciousness, a collective shadow, those things that perhaps our country says that we are not, and we push them down, and yet they're there and we haven't dealt with them. I had to find something really boring to go to sleep then. And I found this history of the English language, focusing on how the letter C became the letter K and S. Guys, it's there, it's on the web. If you're ever sleepy, pull it up. It's true, that is a podcast. So what are we denying? What parts of ourselves, what parts of our culture are we denying? Should we be affirming that we are better than that? Or should we be looking at the that also? And we have lived through some tumultuous years, and meanness and divisiveness have occurred. What on earth is that about? What on earth is the prejudice, the bigotry? What parts of us is that about? Because we're all participating in that. And guys, as a spiritual community, we have such an opportunity as we continue to heal ourselves to be part of the healing of the whole, because we want this world to work. We want this world to work for everyone. And this is why I wanted to go into the shadow today as we move into the Christmas season of the light, that we don't discard some of us, because it will show up. As painful it is, we do have a really good chance then to grow and heal through this, to really become the better than that. So what's the cure for all of this? We got it. It exists. Okay, what are we going to do about it? For thousands of years, and who knows where this began, it's slogans that philosophers have spoken about, religious teachers: know thyself, become self-aware. Well, how do we do that? Not so easy all the time. When I was in ministry school and I was taking classes, and I decided that I needed more classes in counseling, so I took a counseling program at a local university in addition to the ministry school. But now I had gone through many years of study and my New Thought teaching, and I was like Miss Positive and Light. I knew everyone was divine. And I literally had trained myself. I think I'd been doing this most of my life, training myself to only see the positive, to only see the good, because I really liked that. But I also then, as a spirit in my spiritual teaching, came to truly know that and believe that. And we are divine. That's the truth of our beingness. But we don't always express that on planet Earth, but I really trained myself. And so the professor said to me one time, in front of the whole class, he said, I think you need to look at your shadow. And I didn't know what on earth he was talking about. I had no clue what the shadow was, because I didn't understand. It just was like something I couldn't wrap my mind around. But as I became a minister, and a lot of things were going well, but the shadow self would show itself up. And one of the ways it did this was poor hires. And if someone told me they were absolutely wonderful, they could do everything. Of course, I believe them. Why would somebody not be telling the truth? And of course, they were divine. And maybe they were rude on the phone, but they were divine beings. So I was not particularly functional because I couldn't see the wholeness. And it really showed up until I began, things will show up and things will fall apart, and then you really have to look at them. Isn't that kind of the way it works, you guys? So how do we be self-aware? And I'm going to give us a few quick prescriptions here. First comes our willingness to look deeply in ourselves. And that often takes courage, to be willing to acknowledge that we have within us all those things, even the things that we don't like. And in recent times, I have looked at those traits and that I don't like in others or in myself. And I've really done this practice of owning them. And it's been kind of fun, actually, to say, oh, well, look at your anger. I gave it a name. I learned that I didn't make that up on myself. I had a profound teacher, meditation teacher, that taught me to give those parts a name and call them friends. And it really is pretty cool. I like doing that. It became kind of fun. And it gives what I found that came out of that, it gave me power. I had nothing to hide. I'm human. It was so freeing. And which brings me to a useful tool, the tool of mirroring. So what is it in others that we find so repelling? That can be a clue. And I'm not saying that everything in someone else that we see resides in ourselves, but it is a chance for us to look at that characteristic that's in our face and say, is that within me somewhere? And another way is to examine, where did I feel humiliated or embarrassed? And this is really a good one, because in that embarrassment there's a clue lurking below that there's whatever embarrassed us is something that we don't want to show. And there's just lots of questions we can ask ourselves. We can ask ourselves collective questions. What is this rage about? What is the prejudice about? What is all of this about? Can I learn from someone else, someone that I might find really repelling? What is there something to learn about? Jung said the shadow is only dangerous when our attention to it is hopelessly wrong. And so why would we go to this difficult work? We're moving into Christmas. Why not just have a really good time? Well, when there's more genuine self-acceptance, and therefore there's more joy, there's more freedom, our energy is freed up. And yes, faith. Faith has a way of being a more profound experience when we can accept our wholeness, when we can accept others. And when we can accept ourselves, and we want to love others, love God, love ourselves, love others. We want to do that. And it begins at home, that we begin to love and accept ourselves, allows us to love and accept the other. I'm thinking back on Jan's wonderful message a couple weeks ago. And if you missed it, you can go on the Unity's YouTube and listen to it. It is so great. I hope she does a follow-up one. I think she's going to do a follow-up one. And Jan, I guess this is putting pressure on you to do a follow-up one. But she talked about relationships. And oh gosh, have better relationships because of those suppressed, hidden emotions. Have you ever had them erupt with someone you love, with a family member? And it's like, wow, where did that come from? Okay, we called them our buttons. Our buttons got pushed. But what about that button that is part of our shadow that comes up and destroys so many great relationships and makes things so difficult? When we can embrace this shadow, tremendous energy for good is released, and it empowers our creativity. So, what perhaps we might ask ourselves as we move into the magic of Christmas? Where have I not loved those parts of me? What are the parts I do not love? You see, Christmas, we're going to talk about light and love. It's just, and giving those wonderful, wonderful, warm, fuzzy parts of life. But let's begin by asking ourselves, where have I not loved? And then we can let that light shine in those dark places. Let your light so shine that you become a beacon. The spiritual quote that is so wonderful. Let your light so shine. And I have a poem I want to end this with. And if those of you who know me, I plaster this everywhere. And I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with it. And if not, go on the internet, print it off, paste it somewhere. It's called The Guest House by Rumi. And I love this so much. And I encourage each one of us today to make our hearts a guest house. I'm going to share this with you now. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Rumi. Blessings on all of you. Let that be our prayer to end our message today. Have a wonderful week. Loving you all. Namaste.
Winter's here, it's the time of year to celebrate the
What a perfect song to follow that amazing message, and to know that we can still even have in the shadows of our humanity, we can still be the light. Thank you, Reverend Julie. And thank you for that special song. And now, as we move into the season of joyful giving and receiving, we look into our own lives to appreciate our many gifts of spirit. We value the gifts of love, friendship, and the support we receive in our Unity community. Appropriately, the Unity worldwide theme for December 2020 is plenty. I have plenty. Plenty is enough. Plenty is enough to share. And every Sunday, even though we're meeting digitally, we make time for an offering. Giving is a spiritual act. We give as an expression of our gratitude for goodness, for health, for abundance, and for the Unity Center. Excuse me, as a key source of our spiritual nourishment and support in our lives is our Unity Center. It's that time when we act on our faith by tithing and donating at a meaningful level for us. And please know that your Unity Center board and leadership team values and appreciates so much your stewardship. As we remember the theme, we say it often during this week as a mantra: plenty, I have plenty. Plenty is enough. Plenty is enough to share. And as your board members, we are very grateful for your gifts of finances, time, service, food, and for your love. As you see, there are many ways to contribute: by mail or online, and every gift is so appreciated. We began this year with an intention and a vision for our 30th year. Spirit-led, we are co-creating a vibrant, inclusive ministry, welcoming and supporting everyone on their spiritual journey. And together we bless your gifts and offerings, and we say, God's love in me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Now, announcements. Our toy day is today. It's much different than we've had in the past. But thank you so much for everyone who contributed toys, who helped in any way with toys. Thank you so much, Mara Lee, for your organization, for Sharon, for taking the calls and putting it out online, being the point person to the schools for our families. Thanks again so much to everyone who contributed toys, money, and fortunately, everyone was so generous with their toys. Money that was given for toys has not been required. So we plan to use that money to buy socks for the transition shelter, nice warm wool socks for this winter. And we will take those down with our Food from the Heart project. And speaking of Food from the Heart, Mary Troxel is in charge of that. And she will let us know what all is still needed for Food from the Heart. At Christmas time, we take a wonderful meal down, a special meal down for everyone to the transition shelter, and special treats, special food. If you like to cook or shop, there are lots of ways to help. So contact Mary Troxel and she will let you know what we need, what you can contribute. We've been doing this for 27 years for about 50 to 80 men who are trying to get back on their feet. So this is a special time to share with them. And actually, The final two sessions of Myrtle Fillmore's Healing Letters, that's taught by Sandra Combs, the licensed Unity teacher, will be after service today and next week on December 20th. It's still open to attend, and you'll find great spiritual value with that. It's a nice discussion group. You can find information in the weekly newsletter. You can also contact the Unity Center and get more information about that. On Sunday, December 20th, Reverend Julie Applegate will be speaking about the mystical meaning of Christmas story for today. And on planning and, excuse me, a New Year's Eve service on the 23rd with Reverend Victoria Etchemendy. COVID precautions will be taken with masks and social distancing. This will be at the Unity Center, plus a candle lighting in the garden or the parking lot, depending on the weather. That will be Wednesday, December 23rd, and there will be a limit of 25 attendees in our sanctuary. So seating will be set up for social distancing at separate round tables. Advanced reservations will be required. Call the center number 503-695-9765. Clearly state your name, phone number, and the number of people attending. And if you can't attend after making a reservation, we appreciate letting us know so someone else can attend in that. Or you can also leave an email for our on our Unity Center. It's westlandunitycenter@gmail.com. The service will be available live on Zoom or on video on YouTube on Christmas Eve, and you can watch it then. On December 27th, we're going to look forward to having our good friend Reverend Jody Stevenson, from the senior minister at CSL in Boulder Valley, Colorado. One of the advantages of Zoom, we can have people from all over. She's going to speak about time and helping us look beyond 2020 and into the next year. And then on January 3rd, the first Sunday of the new year, Reverend Julie will be leading us through a burning bowl ceremony, creatively adapted to these digital times. And we can certainly use one. So please join us for the rest of the year for healing, humor, and joyful community. And also a reminder to share Unity with your friends. As we move through Advent to Christmas, let us begin to dwell in the shining spirit of faith, love, peace, and joy. All the many essential aspects of life that we celebrate in the end of the year's holidays, whether it be Christmas or whatever your faith tradition. Let's share them from our hearts, and let's find ways through these tough times. They're unprecedented in our lifetime. Let's extend our love and caring for others. The Unity Center is here to support everyone on their spiritual journey, as we have for 30 years. You can join us live on Zoom every Sunday morning, or watch the current week and past messages on YouTube on our Westland Unity Center channel. You never know when someone's heart and life will be touched by a message that seems to have been spoken just for them. So we encourage you to invite those you care about to share our Unity Center. Truly, everyone is very welcome here for messages of faith, hope, wonder, and joy. For further spiritual support, please feel free to call Reverend Julie Applegate. Visit our website, worldhealing.org. Find us on Facebook. Or for 24-hour prayer, call or visit silentunity.org. And please stay after our service for conversation, fellowship, and discussion and connection with all you wonderful beings. If you're new or relatively new, we look forward to getting to know you. As we complete our formal time together, we symbolically blow out our candles. But we know the light never goes out because we are the light. Please join us in your own home with a prayer of protection and transformation. The light of God is in us. The love of God moves through us. The power of God transforms us. The presence of God is who we are. Wherever we go, God is, and all is well. Thank you so much for your support and participation. You're a very important part of the Unity Center. Let's all reach out this week in love and the spirit of unity. Have a beautiful, safe, and healing week. Thank you. Now we close as we always do with the peace song, and we have another video treat for you.